Hey guys, so today I'm going to be over-analyzing card draw. So when I think of card draw, there's two main ways to think about it. First is just simply thinning your deck, which is to say that this card that draws one card isn't here because I need it or anything, I just wanted there to be a higher chance of drawing the card I actually need. When this is the goal, think of the card as simply being an X credit card that simply reduces the size of your deck by 1, so that the stuff you actually want is more likely to appear. As an example, in my buffs deck, I had a lot of cards draw so that if I didn't get buffs, I wouldn't lose the game due to lack of units. Because of all that draw, I essentially reduced the size of the deck to just a few select cards. However, this line of thinking is very dangerous, as thinning your deck means you take morale damage sooner. So, if you use card draw to thin your deck, especially for early game aggro, then you will probably be guaranteed to die late game as you spent all your cards, so your opponent just has to survive the war of attrition until you inevitably die. I'll call this type of card a one draw thin, as its main or only purpose is to thin the deck. Alternatively, a one draw card may be used for its bonus, which is to say, when you use a card that only draws one card, it usually comes with an effect. Thus, you may use this card to thin your deck, but also to give a helpful effect before doing so. The best way to explain this is with examples of more helpful bonuses. For example, For Freedom is a 1 credit draw that also gives a unit +1/1. You might use this card to thin a deck as mentioned earlier. However, you may also want this card for its bonus of extra health and damage. To specify, one strategy I use is deploying Red Devils turn 1, then send them to the front line turn 2, and for freedoming them so that most 1 cost and 2 cost guys can't kill them as easily. In this situation, For Freedom is more useful for its bonus rather than thinning the deck. An additional benefit of using For Freedom for its bonus is the fact that it replaces itself with another card when used, as opposed to Usis, which does the same effect, except that it doesn't draw another card. Thus For Freedom is great for its bonus, whereas Usis doesn't have a bonus, as it only has an effect versus For Freedom, which has an effect and a bonus. The effect being draw 1 and the bonus being give a unit +1/+1 while doing so. Another great example is the German tank and German airplane that both give 1 card draw and deployment. In this situation, the bonus is the actual unit. Obviously, you may use these cards for their stats, or so you can have more units, or because you need more German tanks, but through the lens of card draw, the actual unit is just a bonus. Thus, this bonus means that you can thin down the deck down to the cards you want to get more often, but while doing so, also get more chaff to fight with. This bonus specifically can be great in wars of attrition as, for example, if you both had 1 card, they would place down their unit and that'd be it. But if you got lucky, you could keep on placing down bonuses until you end up with 2 to 3 tanks while they only have 1 unit, even though you both started out with 1 card. However, the only downside to going for bonuses is that cards that give card draw tend to not be as powerful as other cards, so you may have to stack bonus cards to be as effective as one of the more specialized cards. For example, you could place down a Panzer 38T, draw a Panzer, place down the Panzer, draw a Panzer, and then for your 4th Panzer that's 12 credits, and then they can just place down a USS Yorktown, which will spawn 4 boosters for the cost of 5 credits, and then in that case, you spent 12 credits to get basically the same effect as them spending 5 credits and only 1 card, but you spent 4 cards. So that is the issue with going for bonuses, is that sometimes you spend a bunch of credits to get an effect and they don't have to spend nearly as much and have more cards in the deck than what you have. Thus, when you go for bonuses, it can lead you to being at a credit disadvantage or also a card disadvantage where you have less cards in your deck. As once again, the more cards you put in the deck that have draw when played, the quicker you go through all your cards and quicker you go to morale damage as you've played all your cards. Either way, I'll call this one a 1 card bonus as the goal of it is to give a bonus. Anyway, that's 1 card draw cards. Cards that net 1 card draw I'll talk about in the next video, such as Night Patrol and Lesser of Two Evils, stuff like that, where they draw more than 1 card, but they end up giving you only 1 card. For example, Panzer 3H, stuff like that. But this video is just about 1 card draw. The next one will be about the other ones. And also 2+ card draw. But yeah, that's it. Thanks!